Good day, my name is Blue Suit and today I'll be going over my review of the top-down cyberpunk looter-shooter action RPG called The Ascent. In The Ascent, you play as a bottom-dwelling indent, doomed to live a life of servitude to whatever scum of the earth boss who owns you. Running through the streets of Velis doing everything from unclogging sewers to spearheading corporate takeovers and killing anyone who gets in your way. At the start of the game, one of the largest corporations around, the Ascent Group, has fallen, creating a power vacuum that has everyone with a gun vying for control. Among these mercenaries is you, and you'll build your character into a lean, mean killing machine as you traverse the echelons in this society that is stacked and organized in a literal class structure, with the most elite and wealthy citizens living on the top and the poor living just above the sewers. The overall story and world in The Ascent is absolutely phenomenal. Perhaps a bit trite and without getting into too much detail, but the story essentially revolves around you overthrowing a huge, powerful corporation, as seems to be the growing trend among the cyberpunk genre. What's really incredible about The Ascent, though, is how detailed the world is. Every single location is littered with hundreds of items and effects that bring this game to life in a very satisfying and special way. Details like trash, neon signs, vehicles, amazing lighting effects, a great cyberpunk soundtrack, lots of rain, loads and loads of side quests everywhere you go, and so many more make the world feel real and lived in. The maps are rather large though, and there are quite a few long stretches of the game where you're just walking through areas you've already seen a dozen times, and that part's not really that fun. There is fast travel available, but it's rather expensive and only takes you to certain locations. The characters though, love them or hate them, are brimming with personality and interesting to watch and listen to even when they aren't making any sense. Because while I did enjoy the plot, the actual dialogue was kind of all over the place. And at the end of each dialogue, you have the option to ask questions about what you just heard. And if you don't ask all of those questions, you're probably not going to have any idea what the NPCs are talking about, as they'll just start throwing out random terms and acronyms, where it really takes a lot of patience to not just skip through it all.
Invalid tags passed a scan gate at the Cosmodrome a few subcycles ago. The biometrics match your habbers, but...
The Ascent's combat is a strange mix of twin-stick ARPG, but it completely works due to its balance of depth and simplicity. As a twin-stick shooter, you make your way through missions on large, handcrafted maps, running and gunning with infinite ammunition in solo or cooperative play. The controls are smooth, but they certainly could do with some improvements, mainly due to the fixed camera. For starters, I found that aiming was occasionally off due to an awkward, immovable camera angle, and second, a lot of the time you can't actually see what you're shooting at because the game has determined that you want to be looking right, when enemies are actually attacking from the left. The maps themselves, however, are not only meticulously detailed, but also really well designed for combat. There are always lots of cars or barrels to explode and take advantage of, as well as lots of opportunities for high and low cover, a vital system in the Ascent's gunplay. When in a fight, you can decide between firing high or from the hip, adding another layer to the combat. Some enemies aren't tall enough to be hit by high firing, but high firing causes more stagger to enemies. You can also crouch behind cover and high fire to safely target enemies as they try to flank you. This system can get a little awkward when fighting enemies on stairs, but clever players can actually use it to their advantage, as being lower than someone acts the same as having cover. Combat is further deepened by the vast array of weapons, armor, and gadgets that are available to you. The armor was honestly kind of a letdown, as it can't be upgraded the same way weapons can, and all you have to do is buy whatever is the most protective until the end game, where you can worry more about its bonus stat modifiers. The weapons, on the other hand, come in a variety of classes and damage types, from ballistic and energy to shock and fire. These weapons are all fairly balanced and can be upgraded as you progress through the game. Finally, there are tactical abilities and augmentations. These pieces of tech can be as simple as a grenade or as impressive as a cluster of homing missiles or a giant energy beam to decimate your foes. What I really liked about the augmentations was how they work so well with your stat tree. At first I thought it was pretty oversimplified, but when you level up, you can put a few points into one of 8 stats that increase a passive ability and an attribute. The augmentations that you equip all belong to one of your 4 attribute categories, and get powered up depending on your strengths. For example, because my Motorix stat was highest, my barrage of homing missiles had a substantial increase to the amount of missiles. And they're just as balanced as the weapons. If you get a weapon or augment in the beginning of the game, it will scale with you, and there's nothing stopping you from continuing to use it even post-credits if you really like it. Right now you can pick up the Ascent on Xbox and PC for $30, and it's honestly worth just a bit more than that. The main campaign is about a dozen or so hours with way more side missions and bounties to keep you busy after the main campaign's over. The gameplay and story aren't necessarily perfect, But the Ascent does a successful job of combining two great genres into a fun and memorable experience with addicting combat and RPG systems that culminates in a fresh and unique experience overall. So I'm valuing the Ascent at $33, and I hope that what we're seeing here is a budding franchise in the making. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Ascent. Come see me on Twitch where you can watch our reviews in progress 5 nights a week. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Until next time, peace!